Well, good morning, everyone. Today I am in the process of cutting up some more grape tomatoes and dehydrating them. I did go up to the farm this past weekend, and there was, of course, another big flush of tomatoes that needed to be picked, so I did that. And also got some more beans, and I've decided that I will do them in the salt water as opposed to canning them with vinegar. So I've done that with the beans already. And right this morning, as I said, I am in the process of dehydrating some more of these grape tomatoes, and I'll show you that in a minute. I have completed jarring up probably 120 pint jars. Yeah, I think that I've got 120 pint jars. I think I'm going to go do another. I'm going to buy another 50 pounds, which should net me somewhere in the range of another 30 pint jars, 32, 33, something like that, depending on the yield. And yeah, the first bunch, the yield wasn't so great. I think I only got about 25 jars per 50 pounds, and that's really quite low, which means that they had a lot more water in them, or a lot more liquid than is normally the case. But the second batch that I bought more than made up for it. They were extremely meaty, and I hardly had to drain any liquid out of them at all. So I got more than 35, probably 36 jars per 50 pounds out of each one, and they're very thick. So when I do go to make sauce, I can definitely add more water to that. That is the way I prefer to do it, rather than jarring up water. So anyway, yeah, I think I'll go and get one more batch before I give it up entirely for the season. I'd like to have a little extra on hand. I like to make sure that I have enough for ourselves, and my husband's been wanting a lot of pasta lately. I don't know why. He seems to really enjoy that, and it's an easy meal for me to make, so I have no issue with that. And I also like to keep some available for friends or family member who may request half a dozen jars. You know, my son would probably like half a dozen jars. I mean, they do go to the store and buy them, and I wonder why. Sometimes they know it's available from me if they choose, so up to them. But I do like to make it available for them, and so I like to have a little extra on hand, and I want to make sure that I don't run out between seasons. So always like to have a little extra on hand. So anyway, show you right now. I'm probably going to do a few things today. I think I'm going to go and buy some more mason jars just to have extra on hand. This shortage in the U.S. is kind of spooking me a little. I don't know why it wouldn't end up here sooner or later. The other thing is I plan hopefully to make some bread today, so it's a few chores I want to get done. So make some bread, go get some jars. I think tomorrow is when the tomatoes will be back at the farm for pickup. They ran out. I mean, they sell them out so fast that when they're good quality, it doesn't really matter the price. They'll sell every bushel that they bring in, and it's still early in the season. There's still another month to go before you can't get any more, but I'd like to get that over and done with and put my machine away once and for all. So anyway, today, right now anyway, I am going to be doing some more of these tomatoes. And as you can see, I still have quite a few here in the sink, and I have already started to cut and wash and get them ready for dehydrating. So, and yes, we'll have some for salad as well, but there certainly is plenty here. And yeah, that's what I'm planning to do this morning. Doesn't take long to fill up these trays. I might have to do 2 sets of trays. before I'm done. Now I did make a full mason jar for my daughter. So I'll be giving her these, and I'm going to keep them in the fridge. And yes, they are dehydrated, and yes, they do seem solid dry, but there's always a bit of moisture to it. And the reason it's clouding over is because I just pulled it out of the refrigerator. So yes, it's I'm going to tell her to keep it in the refrigerator as well until she goes to use it. Now, she is planning to use this for bread, and I'm going to recommend that she rehydrates them just a little bit and slices them up into smaller pieces for her bread. But of course, she'll make her own decision on how she uses it herself. Once I've supplied it to her, the rest is up to her. So. Okay, so I've already got, I've got 2 trays left after this one. And the rest I'll just wash up and put aside until tomorrow or the next day when these are done. They may take a little bit longer than a day to do, a day and a half, I think. That one can wait until it's a little riper. They do ripen up quickly, even if you pick them just slightly green. And since I only get up there now about once a week, it's probably a good thing for me to pick as many as I can while I'm there, because heaven knows the next time I go back there'll be this many again. And I think I had at least about 30-40 pounds of these in this last batch. Certainly 2 to 3 times what I picked the first time. I think the first time I managed to get a couple of salads and 1 container full of for the dehydrator and a few left over. Okay, I'm going to finish these off and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so I've got all 3 trays full now, and what I'm going to do at this point is show you how I save seed. And there are a number of ways of doing it. I understand fermenting is one way, and I've done that in the past, and I'm not really, it doesn't interest me. So basically what I do is I squeeze the seeds out into a little strainer. And there's so many tomatoes, it really doesn't matter how many, how many it takes for me to get this done, as long as I get as many as I want. So I think the whole fermenting thing is to remove the outer coating, but I'm going to try rinsing this off. And I've seen other people just rub it against a paper towel, but I don't want the seeds stuck to the paper towel either, because they're hard to remove. I believe I've tried that in the past as well. So now all I do here is just run this under the tap and wash away most of that coating. I'm not saying that there still isn't some of that coating there. I'm sure that there is, but most of it has been washed away. I don't know if you can see this now. Let's see. Okay, so here I have my seeds all strained and washed, and I can take a paper towel at this point and just wipe the bottom to drain some of the excess liquid. I really don't want the seeds to stick to the paper towel though. And then I've taken some parchment paper. These are still extremely wet. But at this point I've taken some parchment paper and I'm going to dump the seeds on the parchment and get them out whatever way you can. And allow them to dry. Spread them out here and allow them to dry on the parchment, and they will be much easier to remove and separate at that point. So I'll probably do this a few more times until I have as many seeds as I think. I mean, this is probably more than adequate for the year, and I still have some from previous years, but as I said, I always like to have an excess of things like tomatoes canned and seeds, and I'm hoping here I can show you what this looks like up close. It's fairly clean, and I can just set this aside in the air and let the air dry the rest of it. So that's how I collect seed. And for the lady that asked me about if I knew what kind of grape tomatoes these were so that she could buy seed for her grandson because he likes them so much, I can almost guarantee that if you were to go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of the grape tomatoes that he does like and take the seed out and dry them, you will get plants now. They may be hybrid, but they'll probably still come up reasonable. I have no idea whether these are hybrid plants or not, and they still come up. Unfortunately, I seem to still plant them next to Roma tomatoes, and they do, some of them are a little bit bigger than they used to be, so when I take seed, I take it from the smaller ones, and next year I'll try to be a little bit more careful about not planting them so close to Romas, because I think they are in the Roma family, and they may be some sort of a hybrid, but as I said, I've collected them from seed. I've collected the seed from these from year to year, and they still seem to come up as a grape tomato. For some reason this year, some of them are a little bit bigger than usual, but that's okay. We'll just take the small ones, and I still have seed from previous years as well. So, yeah, I'm just taking the seed from the smallest ones rather than the larger ones because I really don't want to plant Roma tomatoes. So, as I said, surprisingly how, people just don't think that you can take the seed from a fruit that you buy at the supermarket. Of course you can, in some cases. And, you can, I've grown rosemary from cuttings from the supermarket. I've grown lemongrass from the supermarket. My basil that I have cuttings from that I took from the plant. It's amazing how that plant has come up. As a matter of fact, I'll show it to you. Okay, well here it is. This is the basil plant that I just took cuttings from, and they rooted like crazy, and I put them in a pot and they're doing well, and I take leaves off it every day and put it in the tomato sauce, and before they grow too much bigger, like even when they try to go to seed, I take that out. I don't let it go to seed just yet. And I suspect that I'll take more cuttings again and start some new plants. And perhaps just keep doing this. And yes, I can still grow these from seed, but I think it's so much easier just to try and root little cuttings in water. So that's what I'll be doing. All right, so besides the cherry tomatoes that I cut up and put on the dehydrator for the day, I have 2 large colanders full of washed and ready to be put in the dehydrator next. So within the next day or so they'll go on, or we'll eat them for salads as we go along. And that is my smear of seeds on a piece of parchment paper. And I'll just put these aside, put them on the fridge, or put them aside someplace and let them dry. Actually, probably not on the fridge, but someplace that's not hot, not cold, and just let them dry naturally. and then I'll scrape them off, and once they're dry, and put them in a little baggie. Yeah, with this year's date on them, so I know that, and what they are, so I'll know for next year where to find my seeds for my grape tomatoes. So that's it for this video.